Hi, so real quick, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about diabetes and what you might need to be eating or not eating if you have diabetes. So right now, the U.S. government probably spends about $160 billion on medical costs for diabetes alone. And it's also very sad that 1 in 4 Americans are either pre-diabetic and have diabetes and don't even know it. I'm sure you may know somebody who may be affected or may have been recently told that they have an elevated A1C levels and they might want to get that in check. Even at a normal level, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes during pregnancy, and I was able to avoid having to go on insulin just by paying attention to what I was eating. And my favorite thing was taking walks after I was eating and getting better sleep. And now that I know that I'm at an increased risk for diabetes, I have to be very intentional about preventing it. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Type 1 diabetes is where the immune system is attacking your insulin-producing cells in your pancreas. And then you have type 2 diabetes, in which you either don't respond to the insulin that you produce, which is known as insulin resistance, or you're not making enough insulin. Either way, you don't want this happening, and if it does, you want to try to get it under control as soon as possible, because too much sugar in the blood and poor insulin regulation ultimately causes organ damage, leads to things, to start shutting down on you, and the body gets thrown out of balance. And the best way I can describe this is think about a kid that eats a whole lot of candy or has a whole lot of sugar. What would that kid start doing? They'll be running around, going crazy until they crash. And this is ultimately what happens with the body and your organs. You will eventually become, overwhelmed. You become overweight. You have pain, damage to nerves, and even vision loss. And the list goes on. And most importantly, too much sugar in the blood makes it sticky and more likely to clot. And what do clots do? Clots put you at an increased risk for having a stroke. So you don't want any of that. So here are some tips that I kind of, want to share with anybody out there if you're looking to eat better, if you are diabetic or pre-diabetic. First thing I would suggest is get a glucometer, or you can get one of these newer fancy wearable devices so that you can monitor your glucose and know your baseline and really pay attention to how your body responds to the different types of foods you eat, especially when you're under stress and different circumstances going on. You want to know how your body is responding to this. And from there, you can make better decisions. You'll know what you need to eat and what you need to stay away from. You can try intermittent fasting or choosing a specific window to eat. I choose 12-hour windows, eat from 10 to 10, nothing before 10 a.m. or nothing after 10 p.m. Eat 5 to 6 small meals and snacks each day instead of 3 large meals where your body's overworked and taxed. You can have a balanced breakfast smoothie like blueberries and pineapples in the morning, or before you go to bed, have a nice protein snack. That way your sugar's not crazy high in the morning time. Eat primarily plant-based, wholesome foods, no processed foods, and a moderation of healthy fats, oils, proteins, and carbohydrates. You want to really try to avoid processed foods. Can't express that enough. Your chips, your cakes, pies, all of that stuff. If it's anything on the label that you can't pronounce, don't put it in your body. Something else you can do is a functional metabolic analysis. And this could be either just looking at blood work, or you can do a stool test to understand how your body processes and responds to the foods that you're eating. And this will really help you to know your glycemic response as well. Viome offers an at-home stool test that you can do, and it'll provide you with a personalized review and recommendations on foods you should eat, foods you should stay away from, and foods you could just eat in moderation. Get with a functional practitioner, and you can also learn about options that will be covered under your insurance in terms of testing. Ideally, you want to balance out your plate with the majority of it being veggies, a small portion of protein, and then a small portion of your starch or your carbs. You want to pay attention to your serving sizes. Don't feel like you have to try to eat everything on your plate all the time. Listen to your body. When you are full enough, save it for later, ask for a to-go box. Know how your foods are being cooked, because this makes all the more difference. If you can tolerate it, raw is always better. Eat things, salads, foods that are not cooked for long periods of time. fried foods, which are typically battered in flour and fried in vegetable oil, are going to be hard to let go, I know. But the way these foods are cooked causes blood sugar spikes, and this is going to increase your cravings and then result in you overeating them. So the best thing for you to do is to just try to stay away from it. That oxidation that happens when those foods are fried causes inflammation inside of you, and in the long run creates damage to your gut lining, which contributes to all of these other problems that you have going on, especially not being able to lose weight or holding on to fat in places where you don't. So if you can avoid vegetable oil, canola oil, corn oil, go ahead and do that. Cook with grapeseed oil, olive oil, or coconut oil instead. Stick to lean proteins, less red meat. I prefer poultry or fish. I'm more plant-based protein eater myself. I don't really eat a whole lot of meat at all. But when I do, I try to stick to clean, antibiotic-free organic meat. Green leafy vegetables, people. Spinach, kale, collard greens, mustard greens, anything you can think of. Green is better. Fill your plate up with a bunch of greens. But if you don't do that, try to get at least 30 different types of vegetables or fruits throughout the week as much as you can. Stick to the colors of the rainbow. Anything red, orange, yellow. Get it on your plate. Red cabbage, sweet potatoes, carrots. I mean, just try to stick to all different types of colors and make it fun. In terms of grains, you can do your whole wheat grains, brown rice, bulgur, oatmeal. I mean, get creative with that as well. Use chia seeds, flax seeds, anything like that into your yogurt or your cereal each day. You want to try with your fruits, you want to always do fresh fruits, never canned or the ones that come in the little cups that's filled up with a whole bunch of syrups and things like that. Try to stay away from them. Your low glycemic fruits like watermelon, cherries, berries, strawberries, and blackberries, you're going to want to use those options before you go to the sweeter fruits like bananas and oranges. All right, after you eat, get active, get up, take a nice paced walk. If you're at a restaurant, and they playing some music, get up and dance after you eat, but move around. This is going to improve your mobility, your circulation, get your digestion going. It's not only going to, help with the digestion, but it's also going to improve your glycemic response because it helps the insulin to get pumping and get the glucose to go back into the cells. So that's less sugar in your blood. It'll also improve your bone health, keep you mobile. It'll improve your mental health, your hormone regulation, and give you more energy. That sluggish feeling will go away, I promise. In terms of beverages, drink more water. If you have to, add some lemon or some lime to it, but avoid sodas and punches and fruit juices and caffeinated beverages and anything with added sugars and syrups or artificial sweeteners in it. Other healthy options are going to be tea. You could try rooibos tea or green tea. There's so many creative blends out there that just help you. So get some tea in your life. You can sweeten it with honey or agave or stevia, even though I don't like the aftertaste on that, but it's an option. After I gave up sugar, I kind of don't have a sweet tooth now, so anything that I have that does have too much sugar and it doesn't even taste good, so I don't miss it. And if I do have something like that, I'll dilute it or wash it down with some water. You want to be careful to not drink too much fluids at the same time that you're eating, because that can dilute your stomach acid, which will make it even harder for you to digest the foods that you're eating. And so they sit in your stomach, or they sit, they're not moving along, or they're not broken down properly and not absorbed properly. And that's no good for you. You want to do all things in moderation, whatever you choose to eat. Don't overdo it. Don't overstress it. Instead, focus on having a healthy relationship with your body and with the foods that you're eating and what you're putting into your body. Too much stress is only going to make it worse. It's getting dark on me, so I hope you have found this informational. Share your recommendations. Share it with a friend. I'm hopeful for you. Stay hopeful and take better care of yourself. Take better care of everyone else. And be well.